The Battle of Atlantic took place spanning the entire war, making it the longest battle of World War II. During World War I, Germany would use U-boats to surround Britain and were starving them. The German U-boats were destroying almost all the incoming and outgoing ships. This strategy was working as Britain was losing resources. During World War I, the US were not participating in the war but instead was selling weapons to both sides of the war, making tons of money in the process. When the US heard that they weren't able to sell weapons to Britain, they were furious. They threatened the Germans that they would do anything to protect the American people and their property. Good thing almost 100 years later we are grateful for the American government and the property. Germany, knowing that the US was ultra wealthy, caused a divide in the German politicians. Some wanted to continue destroying US ships and others were scared that the US could go to war with Germany. They were like Hitler, no balls whatsoever. I mean half a testicle. On May 7, 1915, a British passenger ship was sunk by German U-boats. Looks like the Nazis didn't like the Disney cruise. 128 Americans died in the ship, and 4 Disney characters, R.I.P. Mickey. This and plenty of other factors caused US to join the war. This also leads to one of the terms of the Treaty of Versailles being that the German Navy was capped at 6 pre-dreadnought battleships, 6 light cruisers, 12 destroyers, and 12 torpedo boats. During Hitler's rise to power, one of his main selling points was the Treaty of Versailles was a slap to the face for Germany. The Treaty of Versailles was like if your friend lost everyone's rulers and you offered to help find them, but then everyone blames you for losing the ruler and making you pay for them, and on top of that you must go every student and apologize. And if you deny, then we will beat you up. After Hitler gains enough power, when he becomes chancellor like Palpatine, if you think about it, they both are very similar. They both want to kill a certain race. For Darth Sidious, he wants to kill the Jedi and Hitler wants to kill the Jews. They both also have lightsabers, etc. Anyways, when he gains enough power, he slowly starts to violate the Treaty of Versailles. But every time he does violate the terms of the treaty, he gets no backlash from the League of Nations. One of these terms he violated was Germany's limited army and navy, which he expands over the limit. He doesn't get a response from the League of Nations. While League of Nations, you really are useless, like another organization that was founded after World War II but instead gets backlash from France. France was furious at Germany for what they did. On March 16, 1935, Hitler introduces military conscription, which gives Germany a huge edge over everyone else just by the sheer amount of military personnel. On September 1, 1939, Germany invades Poland, which causes Britain to declare war on Germany. The official battle was started on September 3, 1939, when a German U-boat destroys a ship with innocent passengers, killing 4 Canadians. Another Disney cruise has gone wrong. Man, these Germans really hate Disney. The battle was fought over the Atlantic Ocean, and it was Canada and other British forces trying to get resources and men to the Allies in Europe. Germany was trying to stop these resources and men from coming so they could slowly drain them out of all men and resources until they have to give up. The Germans did this by using U-boats to sink any Allied ships. Canada played such an important role in this battle because we have plenty of resources and the battle was near Canada. Some torpedoes were very close to the Canadian east coast and some went in the St. Lawrence River. Early in the war, Germany was successfully destroying almost all Canadian ships. Because Canada was too dumb to figure out how to combat the German U-boats. Germans went from having 30 U-boats to 300. Canada's role in the battle was to escort resources safely to British forces. At the time our navy was weak. We only had 6 destroyers and about 3,500 personnel, which compared to Germany's was minuscule. To combat Germany's reign of terror on the Atlantic Ocean, Canada started increasing its navy at a rapid rate. But instead of making destroyers, they focused their materials into a smaller, faster and agile ships called the corvettes. The corvette had only a single gun and depth charges, which are like underwater landmines. They were more mobile. This cuts the production cost and increases the building speed, which in turn means Canada can build more corvettes. The corvettes were also built because if a corvette had been destroyed, it's less devastating as if a destroyer was destroyed. On top of this increase of navy, they also gained air protection from the Royal Canadian Air Force. By the end of the war, the Royal Canadian Air Force took down over 200 German U-boats. Sorry to interrupt your video, but this video is sponsored by the military. Hey you. You. Are you unable to enlist in the war? Are you a cripple, a child, a coward, or even worse, a woman? And you want to help the brave souls risking their lives in the front line? Do you feel bad that all you can do is sit home and be a burden on society? Then you can help now without enlisting? Yup, you heard me, you can do something with your life. The Canadian soldiers need more weapons and bullets and resources. All you have to do to help is donate scrap. Shops all around Canada are accepting scraps donations and will go to the military. You'll know a shop is accepting if you see this sticker. The Canadian soldiers need you now. Have you ever seen these animal documentaries about an animal where they talk about how cool the animal is, but in reality, it's a huge disappointment? Well, imagine a wolf documentary, and it's the German tactics. The German Navy was under the command of Admiral Dönitz. The German strategy was just to mimic a wolf pack as much as possible. They would single out targets and attack as a pack or group. The Germans would spread groups of U-boats all across the Allies' path. When the Germans spotted any convoys, they would howl and send a message to the rest of the pack to meet up, and during the night they would all attack the ship. The strategy was foolproof. It was so good that Germany destroyed 454,000 tons worth of Canadian resources in 1 year alone. Also, the Germans destroyed 400 Allied ships, while only 7 German boats got destroyed. It was a game of predator versus prey. Germany was the wolf and Canada was like the deer, completely harmless to the wolf. The year 1943 is the year where Canada decided to finally have its maple syrup and enter ultra mode. Alan Turing, a very intelligent man, just cracked the Enigma machine, which was supposed to be one uncrackable egg. There were supposed to be millions of possibilities and it was constantly changing, but Alan Turing was able to crack that one thick egg. So now the Allies know where the Germans are putting their ships, and on top of that, Canada was making new long-range air support which was more deadly than the ones previously used. Canada's Navy was increasing at an extreme rate. At the beginning of the war, our Navy had 6 ships with 3,500 personnel. During the war's end, we had one of the biggest navies in the entire world with 434 ships and 95,000 personnels. We also had 403 merchant ships, 281 military ships, 206 mines, and 3,302 landing crafts. The British forces also decided to drop their T and use more aggressive tactics. Now that Canada is, the British are on the offense. Canada was finally doing something in the war. Canada is finally fulfilling their duty to escort resources, the British finally able to defend and attack properly. It was reported that during 1943 the Germans sank less than 300 ships, which are 1/4 of the amount they were sinking the year before, because of Germany's difficulty to handle Canada, which must be a huge embarrassment because Canada was still not known as a very militaristic country. So Germany, who's basically fighting the entire war, lost to a bunch of polite people who say A and get drunk of maple syrup, must be a disappointment. So the Germans pull back their troops. Again, the Germans with half balls, but even when the Germans pulled back their troops, Canada's Navy was expanding rapidly. 1944, the Germans were able to make a comeback by adding new technology in their boats, but weren't as powerful as they were at the beginning of the war. Both Canada and Germany were in a technology race, constantly trying to one-up each other. First, Germany invents a new type of torpedo where the torpedo would follow the noise of the Canadian boat's engine, and Canada invents a machine that renders the torpedo useless because it drops sound devices that confuses the torpedo. Then the Allies make a new type of radar which detects U-boats and weapons. Then the Allies made the Hedgehog, which was a very effective bomb. Then the Germans make the snorkel tubes that allowed ships to run with diesel. Following that, they increased the German radar efficiency. 72,000 Allied deaths, 30,000 German deaths, 2,000 Canadian sailors, 1,600 Canadian merchants, 752 Canadian airmen, 136 civilians. For the soldiers who died, their names are honored at Point Pleasant Park in Halifax. The Allies saw that Canada was able to defend and attack the Atlantic, so they kept them in charge of the northwest coast of the Arctic Circle. Canada finally got some recognition. Admiral Leonard Murray got promoted Commander-in-Chief and was the only Canadian in both wars to be in command of British battles. Because of Canada, the Allies were able to win the war and Britain from falling to the Nazis, we would be speaking German right now and the Jewish population would be non-existing. Currently, we have the Canada Remembers program which teaches and honors the Canadian lives lost in the war.